Well, welcome to another episode of Lunch with a Shark. It's a great Wednesday. We are having a heat wave here in Southern California. I think that there is a heat warning for the deserts until Saturday. And today we have an amazing friend of ours. She gratefully accepted an invitation to talk to us today, and we have Jennifer from Leafy Legal Services. And Jennifer, how are you this afternoon?
I'm great. I'm here in Galveston on the island. We too are having a heat wave, but it's not desert. It is hot and wet. As soon as you walk outside, you're like in a complete sauna. And
Really?
but it's good for everybody on the beach. The beach is packed. It's really beautiful today, and but we've been kind of open here in this area for about a month, so we're a little bit different than other areas of the country.
Oh, wow. Well, here in California, we opened like a week ago or so, and I'm pretty sure beaches are packed, or not packed, but with a significant amount of people, because
Mm.
it's been warm and things are starting to getting reopened,
Mhm.
and things are moving forward.
Yeah, things are moving forward here. You know, we opened early. Everybody was like, no, no. And then steadily we've had decline in cases. And so more things are open that are not. It's still weird the things they choose to close when other things are open, but it's all going to shake out in the wash, and we'll get through it, and the world will build up immunity, and we're going to fight it naturally. It's going to be great.
That's
That's how I feel.
It is. That's very interesting because I had a conference call this a couple of like an hour or so ago,
Hmm.
and we were actually talking to a client of ours in Mexico,
Hmm.
and he was telling us that they didn't shut down in Mexico. They can't
Hmm.
afford to shut down in Mexico,
Hmm.
but people did keep themselves quarantined and things like that. But he was telling me that it would probably be better, as you said, to go out, and that's actually also my belief that maybe we need to get it to build immunity.
Yeah. I mean, that's terrible. It's a horrible disease, but you know, after talking to physicians and virologists, you know, and listening to them, because they weren't isn't was it treated correctly. Number one, we got false information, and the world worked on it. And like when you listen to Italian doctors, they're like, we just started giving everyone aspirin because this disease is different, and we needed to thin the blood, and we needed to be able to get oxygenation rates up. And just by giving aspirin therapy on onset, that was able to increase the survivability rate, even in people who had comorbidity issues. You know, so they've been releasing people from the hospital that are like 100 years old, 103 years old. And so as we learn about it, we're going to learn that this isn't some super, you know, super alien bug that defies physics and can stretch across a room and get through, you know, into your nasal passages. You know, it's not aerosolized like a bioweapon. You know, people were saying it's a bioweapon, and well, that's terrifying, because then that, you know, you think, oh well, that would not act like a natural virus. But I think that now it's shaking out that it is, and we're going to be okay. And but unfortunately, a lot of people died, I think, that didn't have to die. And there's a lot of people who died. One doctor, he said he's seen more patients die of suicide than of COVID, because of, you know, I think some people died because of this disease, and some people died because of the miscalculations on the disease and the response, the governmental response. So as we dial back into a moderation, which is where we need to be, you know, extremism on either side is never good for
Right.
anyone.
Right.
So as long as we start going back to moderation, I think that is going to be the more sane approach
Is it
in the end.
moderation or common sense? Unfortunately, common sense.
Common sense, common sense. Wash your hands. Don't pick your nose. Don't bite your nails. Don't touch dirty surfaces. If you see someone coughing or ill, stay away from them. If you're coughing or ill, put the mask on to protect all the other healthy people. But if
Right.
you have asthma or COPD, do not wear a mask, because then you will pass out, which has happened. People have been, when wearing masks in cars, only wear a mask in enclosed spaces. I mean, there's just some common sense things that everybody, I think, that needs to come back out,
And
rather
there's
than fear
so
mongering.
much misinformation out there, and information that contradicts the other information. And as we've said it multiple times, and I think we even discussed it in your podcast, was that
Mhm.
people seek opinions instead of advice. They don't follow the advice of the doctors or the specialists in epidemiology.
Yes.
They
Yes.
don't.
And yeah, you want to talk to a virologist, but then
Yeah,
you also don't want to, and it's bad because you get these experts that come out of nowhere. And some of these experts are being pushed as political things
right.
as an expert for this. And I think that we're getting more savvy as a world. We're getting much more savvy. The fact that whenever you can change economies, then certain people do very, very well. And there are certain people who will do very, very well because they like to push economies and they want to pay experts and
Well,
different things
that
like
does
that.
it.
But in the end,
I don't know
it'll
because
shake
it
out.
also updates its currency as it
Mhm.
seems convenient.
Yes,
And
yes,
most
and it's not a conspiracy theory. What gets me is people are labeling reasonable doubt and
right.
reasonable questioning as, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, no,
No,
those are reasonable questions. Let us debate. There is no this pushing of extremists on either sides to want to codify everything that doesn't toe their extreme fringe lunatic line as conspiracy or wrong think is bad. We should have open, aggressive debates and be happy to do it. Science is not settled. Science will never be settled. And we need to just continue to have these conversations on things and have common sense. I think
but
you're right.
most of us like to be taken care of. Most of us like to not accept responsibility. Most of us don't like to follow the proper advice from authority on those topics, and we want to just whatever suits us. If it's good for me to wear the mask, then I'll wear the face mask. But if not, I wouldn't. Like the lady at Costco that they refused service to her because she was not wearing the mask. Well, if people at Costco think or deem necessary for clients to be wearing masks, it even though it's your right to wear it or not, you're at a private property. So just
Yes.
follow the instructions that the owner of that business it's asking you to.
Yeah, vote with your wallet and go somewhere
Right.
else. I mean,
Exactly.
because it's a ridiculous thing. Either the masks work, and therefore we need to open up all businesses now because masks work, or masks don't work. Then why are you requiring these masks? And everybody needs to take it out. We need to open up all businesses now. So I mean, it's like
So
you
talking
can't
about
pick and
business,
choose. Yeah, well, business. Yeah, talking about businesses or different things like that. But again, it's right. I mean, it's a big conversation. We
it
could
is.
talk
It is.
about this a lot,
But you
because
also
I'm all about personal freedom and people should have personal freedoms and liberties.
right.
And at the same time,
But yes,
quarantine the sick. Like, let us.
it's a very interesting like personal freedoms, but personal freedoms, where do they start? Where do they end? If you go into a private property, which is a business,
Mhm.
do you actually just if you go into Costco, can you just grab whatever you want and leave without paying? Well, no.
Oh, you can if you live in San Francisco.
Pardon me?
I said you can if you live in San Francisco. You see them raiding and shopping all the time. They don't stop them.
Wow.
I mean,
But just follow
that's another
instructions.
thing.
Like, come on, there's a reason why they're there. And if you don't like it, just go to another super center or whatever.
Yeah.
But talking about business,
Hmm.
uh, I know what you guys do, and
Mhm.
we love the strategies and the structures that you offer to your clients.
Mhm.
And let's start by, do you offer advice? What do you think about people that want to open their own business structures?
Well, I always tell people, if you're going to do it now. Number one, now is the time for anyone to open up a business. If you have an idea, it's during times of this and uncertainty when you're sitting there going, what am I going to do with my life? This is really what I wanted to do with my life. Guess what? Opportunity doesn't knock, it whispers. It's telling you right now, hey, listen to me. Are you unhappy? Go, what are you going to do? So open up the business now, but then treat your business like a business and assume you're going to be successful. If you do those things, don't wait, treat it like a business and assume you're going to be successful, then you have a leg up on anyone else that's going to do it, because it is stagnation and procrastination. Well, you're not going to do anything if you never get off your butt or you wait for the perfect time. Right? Nobody would ever have kids if they waited for the perfect time. It's never the perfect time.
Okay. So when you talk about business, it's opening our business entity or a business structure. So should I just go ahead and file articles of organization or articles of incorporation on my own? Would that just give me my business entity?
Well, okay. So what we do is we create business structures, the right entity for people. And then we also create anonymous structures. So that's what I do. So I would tell them, no, don't do that, because I personally have gotten hung up on creating something incorrectly that came, and I put the wrong NICS code. And I was trying to bid for a project, and they said, oh, well, you can't bid for this project. Even though my business had kind of changed, I had specialized in something differently, and they were only going to award the bid to this one is it NCIS codes, or it was SIC code back when I did it. So this was a while ago. So only certain SIC codes applied. Now, if I went to a professional, they would have been able to code it under an other or a wider expense, and I would have been able to compete and bid on that project. And that could have been a big changer for me. So just basic things like that people don't think about, I think about, because for 25 years, I built businesses. That's what I did. I was a crisis intervention specialist before I became an asset protection specialist, and I would walk into a business, small and medium, and everyone's on fire, and I would put them all out, and I'd go to the owner and I'd say, okay, why was everybody smoking and on fire? Let's find out what's going on here. Let's fix it. And all the time they would point at sales and marketing, right? I would say, all the time, 90% of the clients I went to would say, our sales are down because Bob doesn't know what he's doing, or Bob in marketing blows. And if we could have just, we just need more flyers or the website or whatever. So I would help them with that. I have a background in creating sites and stuff like that, but it was never that. That's never the reason a company tanked. It was always HR and operations. And it was always the thing that people put off. So you're going to start doing business. Let's say you're a graphic designer, right? And you're going to start creating logos for people, right? You're going to go onto Fiverr and do all this other stuff like that. And then after a while, you're going to realize that I'm competing with Upwork people who say that they can do it for $3 when really this logo is going to cost a couple of $100. And people are asking me for free samples, which they steal from me, and free work, which happens all the time. Music creators, do a jingle for us for free. Give us an intro. Book editors, here's a test project. Test projects, beware of that if you're ever interviewing a client. Anyone who wants to do a test project. Things like that. And it's because they treat their business like a business. What you want to do is get the right organization set up from the very beginning with the articles of incorporation. You want it set up correctly, and then you want to present yourself in a certain manner. And then it's amazing how the world treats you when that happens.
But you know what's the problem here is that we've been trained to get clients however we can. And I'm going to give you an example.
I know.
We belong to multiple Facebook groups. And in one of the groups, one person said, hey, I'm starting a bookkeeping service, and I want to know how to price my services. And one person commented and said, go out and do an analysis of your competition and price your services under the lowest price. And I immediately responded. I said, that's an amazing advice if she was offering a commodity. The problem is that we think that with the urgency of getting revenue, getting money into our businesses, I understand, but you don't offer a commodity. We don't offer a commodity. We offer knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
In knowledge, it's priced different than a pound of apples or a gallon of gas.
Right.
We don't need to be pricing that. And it starts with a mindset of you creating for us a business entity, creating us, giving us a structure, giving us form, giving us a solid foundation for whatever the future holds.
Right.
So, what I understand from what you just said is that let's define legal structure: corporation, LLC, trust, partnership.
Correct.
Okay. There's no legal structure called S corporation. That's a way of being taxed.
Yeah.
That there's no S corporation, people. It's only a way of being taxed. So by me registering in the state or whatever I need to register, that birth certificate, it's not my entity.
Right.
Does that give me the protection that most of us think will give us?
Not anymore. You know, the world has changed. So it used to be, you know, back in the day, you could be a sole proprietor. You would just use your social security number. You would have insurance, general liability, you know, errors and omissions insurance. And if you were someone, you would do that. And people worked their whole life and never had a company. Then in 1977, Wyoming created a instrument of the state called the LLC, a limited liability company. And then other states went, you know, this is a really great deal. This is great for entrepreneurs. It's got pass-through. It's a pass-through entity, meaning you would tie this in with the social security number of the person, and they have a limited liability from their personal assets, but yet they're pretty much kind of like a sole proprietor would be back in the day. And other states adapted it. Now LLC is universal. But we're in 2020 now. A lot's happened since 1977. So now there are various different entities because of issues, and we've become more litigious as a nation. You know, there's 100 million lawsuits filed a year, and that number is going to go up this next year dramatically. So everything that we look at as far as just from COVID, like if you're a real estate investor, you're going to have to probably think about a more strict structure. Right? Because real estate, there's a lot of renters not paying. There's HOAs right now going wild with crazy things that have happened through this. So there's a lot of things that are happening in different industries. Healthcare is another one. People who create masks, sanitizers. I mean, if you look up COVID lawsuits, you will now find an entire first page of Google with different law firms, and you click on it, and it's all the class action lawsuits they're trying to get people in on. It's unbelievable. So before this happened, there was 100 million lawsuits a year, giving everyone walking around, you and me, about 1 in 4 chance of sometime in our lifetime getting sued, which according to the rest of the world, that was nuts to begin with, right? But if you own property, if you own an LLC, if you're the owner, your chance of getting sued once you're considered an investor or in that level, a real estate investor or an entrepreneur, your chance of getting sued goes up to 95% in the next 20 years. It's not if you're going to get sued, it's just when. So not to scare people, but you need to know that as a business owner. You need to know that if you're out there doing Airbnb rentals or you're flipping or you're buy and holding, right? You're going to need to know that I am in an industry where I'm going to have to think about things differently in terms of insurance and my entity structure. Because nowadays we have anonymous entities. You can have an anonymous LLC operating company that's you own it, but it's not tied to your name. But the IRS knows it's you. The bank knows it's you, but someone would have to sue or subpoena them, and they'd have to spend time, money, and effort to know if it's you. So that's what we do. We set up people in better structures for them that protect them. And then what we do is we split the assets away from how they do business on one hand and where they hold their assets is in another. So this separation of assets is beneficial. There's tax benefits to doing this. There's operational benefits to doing this as far as spending money on the back end rather than just having a bunch of different LLCs own things. That's nuts. Don't stop doing that. We're not in the 70s anymore or the 80s or the 90s. It's 2020. There's better structures out there that are proven. And we help people out with those, because there are different people there. Like, you might have someone who's like, yeah, I've always wanted to own a business, but 20 years ago I came out of this abusive relationship. I have a restraining order against this person, and if I ever owned anything, they would try to come and take it. My ex-wife was insane. Yeah, they will find it. They will look me up and find it. A police officer. I just had a client who was a police officer in a state that is now letting out violent offenders because of COVID. And he said, I'm worried about my family. I want to start this business, but I'm just worried. I'm worried about my property. I'm worried about my name being out there, because there are people who are bad people. I put away drug dealers. I put away pedophiles. I put away murderers, and they're letting them out ahead of time.
Right.
And so there are entities to protect you. They're legal. As long as the government knows you're not hiding money, this isn't money laundering. This isn't trying to screw people over because you've been bad and they can't sue you. Anyone can sue you, right? It's 2020. It isn't the laundromat and all of that.
You work so hard for whatever you own, whatever your trust or your estate is, that you need to be protected. Now,
yes,
people assume, because my neighbor, my aunt, my grandma told me that this is only for millionaires and this is only for people that have deep, deep pockets. Tell me about that. Is that true?
No, not anymore. I know, because I scaled an asset protection law firm years ago. And yeah, I would say at that point, and you're having to pay $350 to $550 an hour for a specialized asset protection lawyer, then yes. But if you come to a boutique legal services like us, where all we do is entity and asset protection, well, then it's a fraction of the cost. We get people who we set up their entities before they've even bought a property, or we set it up ahead of time before they start that business. Because when you're first in business, when you're just starting out, is when you make the most mistakes. So you want to limit your liability for that, but you don't want to, it's not that, well, I don't want anyone to be able to sue me and they'll never get a penny. Look, if you're doing bad things and if you're harming people, then yeah, they're going to sue you and they're going to win in court, and you'll have to pay something. But if what we do
the time, don't do the crime.
That's right. However, for the average person, unfortunately, there are an entire subsection of people out there that use lawsuits speculatively, like gambling. Right. The name of the game is to settle. 80% of lawsuits right now are settled out of court. They know they don't have a leg to win on, and the lawyer doesn't want to spend the money to go to court. But if they can settle, well, then that's different. So let's say you get into a car wreck. Well, you have Geico, you've got Progressive, right? You've got insurance. So how can a car wreck affect these 2 Airbnbs that you own with your brother? Well, let me tell you how. You'll get into this car wreck. The other person has an insurance. They'll go to one of those, attorneys you see on TV. Well, get them all. And they say, my neck, my back, I have no money. And they say, give me the ticket. The attorney takes the ticket. It's got all your information on it. They hand that ticket to a skip tracing paralegal. They look you up in data tree and all these different programs like that. And they go, oh yeah, this guy's listed on 2 houses. He's the member of this many LLCs and he's in this states. They bring it back. He goes, I can put a lien against that. That's considered a judgment. I need the law, the facts, which the law and the facts may or may not go on into their favor, but I need recovery. If I don't have that, then we can't move forward. Well, now they have recovery. Or you can set it up the right way, your business ahead of time. That same thing happens and they come back and they go, this guy they don't have anything. And he goes, look, I'm sorry, you don't have a case. The best lawsuit is one that doesn't get filed. Right. Because you don't want to be sitting there with Geico's attorney and they say, oh yeah, we cover you. But look, you have limit exclusions here. We're not going to cover these rental properties. We're not going to cover your business over here. So if we go to court and we think you're going to win, your out of pocket's going to be around $35,000. However, they're willing to settle and they'll settle for around 15. I bet you I can get them down to 12. And you're just sitting there going, so I'm going to have to pay 12 grand out of pocket? What? Or I have to pay 35 and then I win. Okay, I'll do it. I'll go. Pay the 35. Okay, but this other person doesn't have anything. We can't find anything on them. It's a piece of paper. You may never get that money back. Then what? Do you want your life back? And also, court takes time. But it's not like you get into court. But I can
Google and go on YouTube and get that information.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, for this, how you do this?
No, yeah,
Yeah,
to defend myself and to
yeah.
create an LLC and a structure and become anonymous. Google
Oh, okay.
Google
Yeah.
can teach me how to do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no. No, the paralegals we use have decades worth of experience. It's not as easy as you think. It's actually a specialty that we do. Because in fact, I talked to someone. I had a client come to me and said, "Oh, I went to this," and it was a competitor, right? And they have this one product they use, and they said, "You can't create an anonymous LLC in any states. You have to use Wyoming or Nevada." And I was like, "I do them every day. What are you talking about?" So there's a lot of
Because
misinformation
Google
out
told
there.
them.
Yeah, Google tells them that. Google told the sales rep that, or their sales manager told them that to get
Right,
that
and
sale.
Google is free. And
Yeah.
same as my neighbor. My neighbor is going to tell me however it went with him.
Mhm.
So I would highly recommend anybody that it's looking to start a business. And this is my belief. And I tell everyone, if you're going to start a business, create a legal structure, create a legal entity, which is different than you, because it's going to help you with your mindset. Do you believe that it's necessary for anyone that's going to start a business to create a legal structure, an entity?
Yes,
Do
because
you
it's not
recommend it?
as expensive as you think it is. When people hear legal or law, they go, "Kss, kss. Oh my God, it's going to be so much." No, it really isn't that expensive. You know what's expensive in a lawsuit?
It
So
is.
put the things in front of you to help you because you're going to be a success, right? If you're passionate enough to do this, put the things in place so you have a solid foundation. Don't be, 3 to 5 years, most startups fail, and there's a reason because they just start getting sales out of the back of their trunk. And I'm going to do it, and I've got the best t-shirt business on the planet, or I got this friend, and we build houses, and we're just going to be building this stuff, right? You have this passion and this idea. But if you don't put the things in place, you're going to find out that in 3 to 5 years, you're not going to be able to scale it. You haven't set up all the things that you needed, and it's just harder to do. And then you've got problems. Maybe you've got one lawsuit, or you've got this set of refunds. I mean, you'd be amazed how many companies I've went in, and because they didn't do a filing that they needed to do, and there was tax fees and penalties. Those tax fees and penalties compounded. They didn't think about it. It wasn't that big of a deal. They didn't really know they needed that business filing, and that's what makes them finally go under because
I
it's
had a
just
client.
too much.
I had a client that called me last week, and they said, "Oh, we need to open a business account for our LLC in Texas." And I said, "Oh, last we heard from you is that we were going to file your tax return and your annual report to the state." He's like, "Oh, we forgot to do it." I said, "I'm pretty sure your LLC is suspended," and that was right. Their LLC was suspended. Nevertheless, they wanted it to open a business account, and I said, "Well, you have no LLC; it's suspended." And
Yeah,
they believe
that
that,
happens a lot. We had
yeah,
another person who had that happen in Massachusetts. They thought it was fine. They were still having, and they go, "Well, I still have my business cards. I still hand this out. Yeah, but you never did your filings and you never paid your
and you
franchise
know,
tax.
the
There's other things."
funniest thing is that they continue signing contracts, agreements, employees signing legal documents under that entity that has no longer authority, power, or protection to do business as so.
So guess who's going to have it come down to them if they get a lawsuit? Them
Enlighten us.
personally. Yeah,
That is
it
right.
does. Yeah, it doesn't. That won't go away. So if you're like, "Oh well, now no one's responsible,"
But nobody
I've,
told me.
I've,
Can I tell the judge that? Nobody
yeah,
told
yeah,
me. But Google didn't tell me that.
yeah, yeah. Ignorance is not bliss. Not when
Oh,
it
thank
comes
you
to
for
stuff
saying
like that. Not when it
it's so funny because clients do tend to say that and say, "Well,
comes.
but I can tell the IRS."
Forgiveness, clients will tell me forgiveness is easier to get than permission. And I'm
Yes,
going to say, not if you live in California.
and that if you're talking to the courts or you're talking to the IRS or the federal government.
Right. Right. Not at all. Not at all. And it's not a laughing matter. The thing is, just take care of it. When you take care of it, then you don't have to worry. The thing is,
Sometimes I do laugh about it because
yeah,
because people, when you say that it's expensive and you put it on with numbers, and that's what we do. We tell them, hey, you know what? Hiring an attorney or hiring a company like yours
Mm.
to give you the proper structure so we can implement a tax solution that you will minimize your impact on taxes, it's going to cost you this much. And
Right.
they immediately go to, holy, that's a lot of money. Well, it's a lot of money right now for you at the beginning. But let's hope that in 2, 3 years, you're not sued, as you said.
Yeah. That's the bad thing is people who get their legs cut off beneath them right as they're starting to feel like they get the wind beneath their wings.
And once
Take
it's,
care of the grunt work in the beginning. You can write it all off. You know, legal services and fees, getting your foundation set up, these entities, these are write-offs. So go to your CPA. I had to do it. I had to get an LLC. I had to do this and pay for these legal fees and professional fees to
we
do
all
this.
have to.
Yes, we all have to. And you know what? A really incredible multimillionaire, probably he's a billionaire now, but he was on our podcast, Dave Zook, and he said, "You know what taxes are?" I said, "No, Dave, what are taxes?" And he said, "Taxes are the fine the government gives you for not doing what they want you to do with your money." And
Exactly.
I was like, that's true, because in real estate, they have things like cost segregation. If you go to a cost segregation person and you have them evaluate your multifamily property, or you have them come into, if you have several commercial buildings or whatever, they come in and instead of paying, you know, let's say the property you're going to have to pay, I don't know, $10,000 worth of taxes ahead of time. That cost segregation can make you pay zero worth of
But
taxes for the first 5 years before you flip it. So
exactly.
what can
The conflict
so
here,
much?
and we're going into something completely
Yeah.
different, that people don't want to invest on a good solution and on actual accountants, not
Mm,
just a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper
right.
don't know cost segregation. A bookkeeper does not know proper tax classification or coding. Bookkeeper does the only thing they do is, and I'm not undermining or minimizing
No, we
whatever
all
they do.
need good bookkeepers. We do,
They
but yeah.
What they do is they simply convert your bank statement into a organized spreadsheet or database that you can not even interpret. That's all they do. Now you need an
Right.
accountant to help you cost segregate, tax classificate, issue financial statements so you can make decisions.
Yeah, and then you
People
need
don't
someone
know
like
the
a
difference
CFO to look
for
at that and say, "Hey, by the way, you're not, there's ways to make money here. Have you thought about this, this, and this?" And then that same money, you're making the same amount of money, but in the end, if you do things correctly, which, you know, so you spend money, right? Because you got to spend money to make money. That's just the way the world works.
it is.
And you spend a little bit of money, but then what you get back in gains and tax benefits and just knowledge on what are better investments or what are better ways to reinvest in your t-shirt company or a graphic design company. There are so many things that you don't even think about, that when you talk to a professional who has talked to other people like you and they go, "Hey, have you thought about, we can do this with your print, your screen and print machines. So have you thought about using this, or we'll code it like this and then we'll do it like this." And all of a sudden you have more money in your pocket with the same amount of money that you started out with. So
Yeah.
it's just, how much money do you want to spend? Because if you have the right professional, you can spend less of your money on taxes. And the government's okay with that, because then you're operating efficiently. There are so many benefits to buying property and being a good investor. So many tax benefits to being a good entrepreneur that are out there, and the right team can help you. I mean, you talk about that with any entrepreneur networking: get a right team, get a good team. And so,
Get
yeah,
a
get
good
the good
team
team.
and be a leader and let them advise you. Accept
Yes.
what they tell you to do because you are not knowledgeable on every single aspect of your company. And I just, before hopping into lunch with a shark today, I ended up I had a conversation with one of our dear clients, and I was telling her, do you know what? You don't need to know everything that goes behind every single conversation in your company. The only thing you need to know is the synopsis and the vital information so you can make decisions. You are not expert on HR. You're not expert on taxes. You're not expert on accounting. You're not expert on management. You're an expert, blah, blah, blah. You just need to trust your team of C levels, if you have a C level team, to advise you.
Right, absolutely. And so that's when I say when a company tanks, it's usually HR, because you don't have the right team. You're not paying them right. You're not managing them right. You don't trust them right the way you're supposed to trust them as an entrepreneur. And so that's why, because in the end, it's the basic HR and foundation. But when you get that done, you get the right team and the right amount of advisors, then all of a sudden you're leveling up. If it's a video game,
it's not whomever you hire that is going to tell you, yes, yes, whatever you want. Yes, tell me what to do. Yes, yes. No, that's not the right team, or that's not a right team member. A right team member, it's somebody that obviously politely tells you, you know what, you're wrong. This is the way it should be done because this and this and this, and proves themselves that whatever they were telling you, it's the right thing. It's okay to disagree.
Yes. In fact, have those disagreements. Sit there and put your toes in the sand and have a debate, have intelligent debate with these wonderful people that you hired, that you trust, and go, you know, I don't believe that, blah, blah, blah. In the end, someone's going to win. But I'm going to tell you, giving a little bit and letting someone own something and then shine and be like, ha ha, look at that. The big client came through and you didn't think they would because of my idea. Well, who cares at the end of the day who did it? So long as you're successful and they're happy, and then you have somebody who's shown themselves to be a leader. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, say that again. Ronald Reagan said, tell me again. Yeah, but tell me the quote he said.
That it doesn't matter who gets the credit as long as it's done.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Okay. I knew I heard it somewhere. See, I'm good at knowing quotes and I forget who says it, and I'll just say it but I'll modify it because it's in there, you know, it sticks in my head. So yeah.
Yeah. As long as I don't care who gets credit about it, as long as it gets done.
Me too.
That's it.
I want people to be shiny, you know, let people just shine all around you. You can never get ahead in life if you're sitting there trying to douse all the flames. That's just
if it's in your own company, I really freaking don't care who shines, because ultimately it's going to your pocket.
Yeah. Well, everybody's, if you can. Yeah, it's a new world now. You know, gone are the days of the Ebenezer Scrooges and the 80s, Gordon Gekko, greed is good. I mean, all those people are the way of the dinosaur now. Now we realize that the people who can be very successful, and I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about the people we meet in our lives that are actually abundant, with the happy families, and they've got their little business. No, they may not be a trillionaire or whatever, but they don't have those problems either. Those people are in their own 1%. We need to stop, you know, worshiping people who are so messed up. I mean, you know, Amazon cheated on his wife with a woman who threw him under the bus, and it was awful. You know, Mr. Elon, love Elon. I think he's hilarious, right? But you can't even pronounce his last kid's name. He's got 6 kids, sons, by how many, like 3 or 4 wives, and he sleeps under his desk like a crazy person, right? I mean, so like there's money, but what is it bought? Insanity.
Hear what he said, that now that you're talking about Elon Musk, is that today is a historical day, not because we're just alive, but first commercial ship, it's going to go into orbit with humans. And as part of the conversation that he was having, he said, people are going to blame me, Elon Musk, if something goes wrong. But people are going to praise NASA if things go right. And I don't care, as long as done.
Yeah, he's nutso, but I think he's also brilliant too in some ways. Yeah. Some ways, like his HR policies, I think are nuts. But you know, I'll go off on that one. But the other stuff, like the innovative stuff, there's another stratosphere of that. But you know, when you think about just abundant people that we can all subscribe to, you know, they're the people who.
But we call them nuts. They're innovators.
Yeah.
they think outside the box. They're not
Well, it's the chaos theory.
They're not normal to our standards. They're not normal to the society standards.
No.
I don't care about that. I don't care to be called normal or different or geek.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no, well, I mean, it's the monsters that
think,
create change and innovation.
Think outside the box, creating.
Let's face it.
You actually think outside the box, helping your clients and our clients protect their assets, protect their state, protect whatever they're working for, and it's not for them to take advantage of their clients or customers. It's actually for them to protect themselves from people that want to take advantage of us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's a lot of people that walk around, game the system. Yeah.
You help us shelter our hard work that translates into investments, into assets, into currency, into whatever we are investing in. And that's not wrong.
Well, no, I do that specifically because, you know my story. I went through a period of terrible homelessness when I was a teen, a pregnant teen, living in a shelter, living out of shelter. I went to college by myself. Sometimes I was like in a bush sleeping. I mean, I got to tell you, I look back on that and say, I mean, crazy, I lived through it, but I saw people who were working jobs and then they were dropping their kids off at the Covenant House shelter, because that's where if you're 21 or younger, you can go to Covenant House. God bless Covenant House. I'm Orthodox. You guys saved my life. I give when I can. Please give to Covenant House for kids. And because they knew that it wasn't safe at the shelter they had to go to. And just weeks before, they both had a job. And it just struck me like that fear of that, like, is it always going to be like this? Are you always going to wonder where your next bed is going to come to? And I grew up with a great family, so I knew that wasn't right for other people. But my family just had this really bad period. And then now if you saw my family, you wouldn't know that I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. But during that time, everybody was messed up for whatever reason. And now that I have been doing what I'm doing for so long, and now even in the podcast and meeting people like you, I realize that there's ways to think about life, money, abundance, spirituality, and even money and just things like this that most people aren't taught. What we're taught about money for most of the people is just absolutely wrong.
Most people think that money is bad.
It's actually
the majority of people think that money or having money, it's completely wrong, or it's a sin.
Yeah, it's either a sin or there's all this scarcity with it. And when you think about it, is about this resource that ebbs and flows, and we're all giving into this.
Your limiting beliefs are holding you back.
Yes, limiting beliefs hold everybody back. And we have it in relationships, we have it in life. But when you break through that, you can be more abundant. And so I look at the people like Elon and all that, and I respect where they're at in this chaotic monstrousness that's so far out of society. But what I want to do is protect the people that are here and show them, hey, there are ways we can take from these innovators without taking all the insanity, right? And not taking all the burden, and apply that to a regular life where you can send kids to college and have something to retire for and enjoy a couple of cruises a year. Well, we might not cruiser, right? Or whatever. And have a life that where you're going, man, it was pretty good. I was pretty happy, and I wasn't terrified all the time, because being a terror of money and shelter and food was part of my existence, and it will always be there, because I know what it's like to starve. Right? I know what that's like to be sleeping and be wet because I can't find a dry place to sleep. And
every successful story has a tumultuous beginning.
Right. And you just got to take it and help others.
Resilience came upon you, and you found a different way of making things better. And I'm not going to say making things right, because they were not wrong.
Right.
They were just not.
They were what they were. But I'm going to tell you, is if you focus out
it could have been worse.
Yeah, you got to, oh my God, it could be so much worse. I had Eugene Boachi on my show, and I started crying. He's with John Maxwell team. He's a speaker and entrepreneur. He grew up in Ghana, and his story was so inspiring to me. And now he's went on to inspire and help all these business people with that. And I was just literally in tears. And I thought, man, I thought I had it hard. this was a hard story, you know, and he took it. And I got to tell you, if you can live in gratitude for what you have, I'm grateful every day. It takes the fear away, but also too, get a good team, get some experts, and that also helps take the fear away. Feeling
Change your
safe in what you're doing.
expectations for appreciations.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
it's very hard to do, but once you manage to do so, you're gonna see the world in such a different way that it it cures you, it eases you, it lifts a weight off your shoulders like you have no idea. Jennifer, tell us
We've
how
been
we can
talking
get.
for so long.
Pardon me.
We've been talking for so long. I feel like
I
this is
know, I
like the
know,
best lunch.
but
Extended
this is
lunch.
lunch with the shark. So,
I know. I love it.
and I love our conversation. I love every interaction that we've had with you. Tell us how we can get a hold of you, because what you do is the first thing that any entrepreneur, business owner needs to start with on top of the business plan. But how can we get a hold of you? How can we reach you so you can structure, shelter our idea?
Okay. Well, number one, you can talk to me for free, so you don't have to worry about that. That's always great. And you just go to Leafy, Leafy, legalservices.com. So if you go to leafylegalservices.com, you can book your consult, or you can listen to my podcast. It's at Leafy Legal. If you just type that in for Leafy Podcast at Leafy Legal, then we're on social media. You'll find us. We put the episodes all out and
they're
whatever.
super fun. We've been at your podcast. We had a lot of fun, and Jennifer, we thank you for being our guest today. Thank you for accepting our invitation to have lunch with us.
Oh my God, this was so much fun. Thank you.
I love our conversation. It went every single way. We explained a little bit. You explained us a little bit about the LLCs and the legal structures, but it's a very in-depth topic. People, don't do it on your own. And as I continue saying, if you have a heart attack, you are not going to perform CPR or open heart surgery on your own. You can't. It's impossible.
Right.
So don't do it. Don't try to be the attorney that you're not, unless you're an attorney. But not even that. There's different type of attorneys. There's different type of legal areas. So hire an expert. Hire an expert. There's not enough money that is going to cover you in case of things going wrong.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, it sounds good.
Thank you to everyone, and see you tomorrow with another Lunch with the Shark, and it's going to be in Spanish with our business partner in Mexico City, Gabriel, and we're going to continue with corporate governance.
Oh, that's a good
Fun
one.
topic. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks. See you guys.
Ciao. Bye.
Ciao.